Good morning. Good morning to you all out there. It's your friend Henry back again, coming at you live from Yorta country, actually, because this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I'm a doctor in regional Australia, and I'm giving half my income to charity this year because I think I've been really lucky in my life. And I think a lot of people in the world have not been as lucky as me. And I want to make the world a better place. And I want to do it in a way that's really effective as well. I want to be smart about making the world a better place. I don't want to do just what feels good, but what actually works to improve the lives of people around the world. We're so lucky in Australia. We have so much compared to so much of the world. And we have the opportunity to use the stuff that we have and that we may not necessarily need, because the best things in life are free, and the next best things are really cheap, of course. We can use those resources that we don't really need to make life significantly better for some of the poorest people around the world. What a great opportunity. And I'm doing it all year. And my Lord, we're almost at $50,000, and we'll make it by the end of the month. We will make it, people. It's very exciting. I'm giving to great charities. I'm giving even more to really, really great charities. Some of these really, really great charities that I absolutely love and that I'm giving the most to are working in developing countries where the needs are greatest. And it's hard to beat that in terms of effectiveness. And they're often public health, preventative health charities, because preventative health is, well, it's easy to measure for one, so it has good evidence for it, but it's also often a really cheap intervention. And I'm giving to a preventative health charity in developing countries this paycheck, and that's actually all I'm giving to. I'm giving $1,850 this paycheck to the SCI Foundation, the Schistosomiasis Control Initiative Foundation. And what this organisation does is it focuses on deworming. So parasitic worm infections, it's not something we learn a lot about in medical school in Australia because it doesn't really affect people in Australia. They're mainly tropical diseases, but I guess more importantly, they're probably diseases of places where maybe hygiene infrastructure is not quite as developed, or where the health systems are not operating as effectively as they could be. They're diseases of poor people living in poor countries. And parasitic worm infections affect an enormous proportion of the world. Like a third of the world has some kind of parasitic worm infection, which is a bit mind-boggling. And they're cheap to treat. We have the medications that cure parasitic worm infections. They're cheap, they're effective. All we need to do is get them to people. And that's what SCI Foundation and a number of other organisations as well around the world do. They just try and get these medications, cheap, deworming medications, to people that are at risk of these infections. Now, parasitic worms, they've been with us for probably millions of years. They've evolved to the point where often they don't cause us any problems. A lot of the time they just quietly live inside us and don't really do anything, and we'll never know. But occasionally they do cause really big problems, and in children in particular, they can cause some really, really big issues. Malnutrition, anemia. It can cause in children developmental delays, learning delays, and that can have really big implications for the rest of that child's life. It's unlikely to kill people, although it sometimes does, but its more important effect is that it just stops children from achieving the lives that they otherwise could. And for something that's so easy to prevent, easy to treat, it's very sad, but it's also a really, I guess, exciting opportunity, a way that we can make the world measurably better for not very much money at all. Because these medications are so cheap, you can treat someone with parasitic worms for like $1. And when you're talking about, effectiveness on that kind of scale, you're talking about saving lives for a few $1,000s each, and significantly improving people's lives for a lot less than that. So it kind of becomes very hard to justify spending money on anything else. And so I'm very pleased to be giving them $1,850, which brings I've given them some money before, so I've given them in total almost $4,000 now. I just think it's a fantastic intervention. It's backed by GiveWell. GiveWell is one of these big charity evaluators that really encourages giving in a effective way, and they recommend a number of different charities that evidence says are really cost effective, are actually helping people, and are actually helping people for not very much money at all. And they recommend a number of ones involved in deworming programs, treatments of parasitic worm infections. And SCI Foundation is one, and I've also given to Evidence Action's Deworm the World initiative a number of times in the past as well. So this kind of, giving where we're giving money that we don't necessarily need, but which is having big, measurable, evidence-based impacts in developing countries. This is really the center of the effective altruism movement, which is just a movement of people around the world who are trying to do good in the world and just trying to be effective about it as well. And I guess a lot of what I'm doing this year is based on effective altruism. And I'm always really interested to kind of read the dialogue around effective altruism and hear what people think about it. And there are certainly valid criticisms to make about it. If you Google effective altruism criticism, even if you Google effective altruism in Australia, the fourth link that comes up is this ABC article that came out in April called "Why Effective Altruism is Not Effective." And I would really encourage people to go and read this article because it's not very good. It goes on and on and on. And really the main point that it makes is that, giving to effective charities is only part of the struggle. It ignores the possibility of political movements, social movements for making change in the world. And I think that's absolutely true. But the most political thing I've ever done is give half my income to charity and try and prove to people that I care and try to encourage other people to care as well. And I think a movement of people being a bit more caring is probably the exact political movement that we need to make the world a better place. So yeah, look, that's the giving for this particular fortnight. And I really would love to hear feedback from people, and this is the segment where we now get to the fan mail. I have been receiving more mail this past fortnight. I suspect mostly from charities that I've given to in the past, or charities that I haven't given to and whom other charities have passed on my contact information to now. I probably dislike fundraising more than most, just because I feel like fundraising, spending money on trying to convince people to give you more money, while it's probably an effective thing to do and often works, I just think in the long run there's an effect that we don't talk about, which is that it does, I think, erode people's faith in charity. People hate the idea of giving to a charity and then 50% of that money goes on to fundraising, encouraging other people to give them more. No one likes the chuggers on the street, the charity muggers that go out and get paid to ask you to give money to Greenpeace or the Fred Hollows Foundation or whatever. And similarly, I'm not a huge fan of when organisations send me. This is coming from the UN, the UNHCR, which is bizarre. I've never given to them, but they're wanting money for the Winter Survival Fund. That's fine, with a paid envelope and a long letter explaining why I should give them money. And look, I'm sure they're very deserving, but I'm not going to give them money at the moment, particularly because I don't want to encourage them to be sending me fundraising. I get discouraged every time I get a letter from an organisation that makes me want to give to them less, and I just want those organisations to know that if you're sending me this stuff, it's definitely delaying, at least, if not permanently delaying, my giving to you ever again. A fake handwritten note from, I don't even know what charity this is. This is an unmarked envelope. A mum's memories. A nice happy birthday card. This seems to be something that all the charities are doing. They're sending me Oh, that's actually a really nice card. I'll probably use that. As long as it doesn't have any information about the charity on it. That's nice. I'll use that. They send blank cards so that then you can use it for other stuff. They've sent me some stickers. That's nice. Again, it doesn't have anything on the charity. Oh, it's from MS. It's from the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. Which is interesting. Again, I've never given them any money. And now I want to less. MS, stop sending me this. It erodes people's faith in charity in the long run. When you ask people about charity, when you talk to people about charity, one of the first things they say is, oh, well, charities just give all their money to fundraising and admin. That's why people don't give. This serves your charity well in the short term. I think in the long term, it serves all charities a disservice. And what's this one from? This is from the Royal Children's Hospital, which is, I've never given to the Royal Children's Hospital. And nor do I really plan on giving to the Royal Children's Hospital now either, but they do fantastic work, of course. Of course the Royal Children's Hospital does beautiful, fantastic work. I'm just not going to give you any money. And this one breaks my heart. The Fred Hollows Foundation. Fred Hollows is my personal hero. He was a doctor and ophthalmologist, and he spent his life in developing countries giving people their sight back by performing cheap cataract surgery. It's effective, it was cheap, it was incredibly important to people, an incredibly inspiring man, and yet his organisation unfortunately spends too much on fundraising and sends me too many damn letters, and it stops me from giving to the Fred Hollows Foundation. I think it's very disappointing. Yes, thank you. Using a small Nepalese child as bait to make me give money to you. Understandable, effective, I'm sure, for you. But I don't like it. I don't want to give to you. Oh, and they've given me a big fat poster I can put on my wall as well. Which I will not. Thank you all. I wish you all the best. Remember what you have. Remember what you've been given. Remember what other people don't have. I really encourage everyone to go out. There's calculators out there that you can go and look up kind of what percentile of wealth in the world you sit at. You're a lot higher than you think. I'm not very far off the 1%. I've just started working this year as a doctor. Almost every doctor in the country is in the 1%. We often don't recognise how wealthy we are. But keep it in mind. Much love to you all. I will talk to you soon.